This video is sponsored by Professional Photographers of America. More on that later. Is anybody else a little bit annoyed with Sony right now? Look, I've been shooting with Sony cameras since I was a buck-toothed 10-year-old living in small town Nebraska making home movies with my sister. And personally, I think that gives me the qualifications to be invited to Sony's camera camp next year. But also, I can understand why I'm not on their email list. Stay in the chair, stay in the chair! Hey Sony, peeved off at ya. Well, I guess I'll just continue the trend of saying whatever the frick I want on this YouTube channel. So, today I'd like to rant about the new Sony cameras as well as recommend an older, seemingly forgotten full-frame Sony legend from 2015. Is 2015 even old enough to be considered retro? I don't know. Ken, what do you think? You mean on YouTube where people swipe their credit cards as soon as the B&H pre-order goes up? Absolutely retro.
I'd like to show you one of the world's great cameras.
This entire video is filmed on the aforementioned 2015 camera, but before I reveal that, I need to rant. The problem with all the new-ish Sony cameras from like the last 3 years is they're all great, seemingly. The A7 IV is incredible value for money. The A7R V is a feature-packed monster that kind of makes the A1 seem like a stupid purchasing decision, in my opinion, unless you're a dentist. The FX3 and FX30 are reliable filmmaking machines that punch way above their weight class. And then there's the ZV-E1, which recently took a massive dookie on my YouTube homepage, and to me it seems pretty overhyped, but I will be getting one in the studio soon to review it myself, and then I'll give you my thoughts on that. But this whole ZV-E1 huge release did kind of get me worried a little bit. My first question is, who the heck is still vlogging? The only vlogging I'm really like aware of on YouTube is really big channels that have vlog style shooting in them, but a lot of times it's like a camera operator holding the camera, filming the talent. It's not really a lot of the old Neistat style anymore. In those content creation settings, I would not trust the ZV-E1 to handle those kinds of jobs because of the overheating problems. The weird part of this camera is it's $2,200, which if you consider the fact that it has the internals of my camera of choice, the A7S III, it's pretty incredible pricing. But sadly, it seems like people are already just like throwing their A7S IIIs away for the ZV-E1, which in a lot of cases I think is a really bad choice. And it also kind of seems like Sony is throwing this A7S III, my beloved camera, out the window. And I'm talking, of course, about the firmware updates. The FX3 and the FX30 just got a really awesome firmware update that added the focus breathing compensation in DCI 4K, which is like such a huge update. I would love to be shooting my content in DCI, but I can't because I have the A7S III and not the FX3. So it's kind of just a bugaboo. So all this that I've been mentioning has got me worried because it seems like Sony is starting to just crap out cameras instead of taking their time like they used to and really like make every iteration that they come out with significantly better than the previous models to make it worth it. So today I wanted to rewind the clock 5 years before the A7S III came out to talk about one of the coolest cameras Sony's ever released. This camera, the Sony A7S II. We interrupt this broadcast for a PPA PSA. Have you or a loved one been diagnosed with the deep desire to become a full-time photographer or visual creator? Then you should join PPA today. I'm not gonna waste your time here, kid, okay? I'm a straight shooter, and I'm gonna say the best resource, in my opinion, that PPA has got is their Bridge the Gap curriculum. When you join PPA today, not only do you get over 900 educational videos, you get this personalized curriculum that will take you from average human being to successful, handsome entrepreneur. It actually did not affect my looks, and PPA does not endorse that in their terms of service, but the curriculum itself, 100% worth it. If you want to learn how to attract the right clients, take control of your personal branding, and market more efficiently, click the link in the description for a special discount on your membership. Now back to the program. All right, so if you're like me, you may not have ever used the Sony a7S II. This video is the first time I've explored this camera, so let's go ahead and have a quick refresher on this camera's features. This camera has a 12 megapixel full frame sensor. It shoots 4K up to 30 frames per second and HD up to 120 frames per second. It has the ability to record in S-Log2 and S-Log3. It has in-body 5-axis stabilization, and it just might be the greatest low-light camera ever made. It's extremely close to the a7S III. They have different strengths, but these two cameras are both incredible low-light machines. After spending some time with this camera and collecting a bunch of test footage and just getting a user experience with it, I can say that this camera has a lot of really good things to offer in the modern day, 2023, and potentially some years forward. The first pro I'll mention is that you can get one of these cameras used on a site like MPB for less than $700 US. When I wrote that down and figured that out, I was thinking to myself, I might just start recommending the a7S II as like the ultimate beginner, hobbyist, intermediate camera instead of cameras like the M50 and the R50 from Canon. One of my biggest concerns making this video was, is the a7S II's footage gonna hold up in terms of color grading? Because I wanted to shoot everything in S-Log3 because that's my favorite profile on the a7S III. And to my surprise, even though this camera's footage is only 100 megabits per second, and I believe it's 8-bit internal, which I shot everything internal, in DaVinci Resolve, this camera's colors held up super well. The one thing you have to make sure of is you expose correctly. If you underexpose, the colors definitely fall apart a lot faster than a camera like the a7S III, but if you're exposing correctly, you're good to go. And there's already a ton of YouTube content out there for people that have tested out the various cine profiles and found out how to get really, really nice looking images out of this camera if you don't want to shoot in a log profile. So feel free to do some internet research. And if you do find yourself getting noisy footage shooting in low light situations, if you're using DaVinci Resolve Studio and you have noise reduction, just like 5 to 15% noise reduction goes a long way. So for the price, the performance coming out of this camera is absolutely bonkers. Obviously this camera is not perfect, so we do have to talk about the cons. The first one that really bugs me is this camera has pretty bad rolling shutter in 4K, but it's not a camera that I would really shoot HD in today, so I opted to shoot in 4K, and basically you just have to be careful with the movement that you're applying to your footage, because if you start wiggling left and right too much, you're gonna see that crazy jello effect from this camera, and it is not pleasing. The autofocus performance is very slow on this camera compared to the newer line of Sonys. I probably wouldn't use it in a professional setting unless the person is standing very still, not moving too far back. Hi. I'm using it right now in this video, but even now I'm a little bit nervous that I'm gonna be out of focus, thus the B angle we have in this video. Next bugaboo is this camera only has one card slot, which is not great for professional use. A lot of times just having a backup and recording the same thing to both cards is huge, and it can save your cheeks in a bad situation. But to be honest, I rarely do that. The record button on this camera is in a very weird spot. I forgot that on these older Sony cameras, it's like on the right side of the camera body, and the button is really tiny. I like on the newer Sony cameras, they put it on the top and put a big red ring on it. I mean, the FX3 and FX30 have it even better, where they have red tally lights that light up when you're filming. Making this video has shown me the insane quality of life improvements that they took to develop in the 5-year period between the a7S II and III. Like on the 2, you have a micro HDMI, you have a lower resolution screen that just tilts up. The EVF isn't great, and the autofocus is really slow, but on the a7S III, they massively improved the quality of life. However, that doesn't mean this is not a good camera. It's a fantastic camera, especially when you consider how stinking affordable it is now. But the main point I wanted to get across in this video is a ton of people are promoting the new Sony cameras that come out. There are way more people reviewing cameras nowadays, which is very interesting, kind of crazy, but it makes the reach of camera videos and influence go out wider. The more people creating, the more people are gonna see these videos and be influenced to make purchasing decisions. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of people who buy the newest, latest and greatest gear, and their footage looks like dog cheeks. I think a talented filmmaker can take pretty much any camera and lens combo and know how to maximize the quality of that camera, because the skills are in here, not in the machine. If you're a beginner, intermediate, or hobbyist video shooter, I would absolutely recommend the a7S II. It's a beast of a full frame camera, but remember there's a 30-minute record limit. Like the channel and subscribe to the video, and please make sure to text me when you get home. And do not forget to sign up for PPA using the link in the description for a special discount, okay? It's gonna change who you are for the better. I'll see you in the next one, okay? You're loved. Bye. All right, mate.